Minasama, konbanwa. Investigate yo yokuso. Sheila des. Minasama, konbanwa. Honjutsu go sanka itadaite domarigatou gozaimasu. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Investigate. My name is Sheila, and I'll be your host for tonight. Unfortunately, Hiroki-san cannot make it tonight, so he extends his sincere apologies to all of you. But anyway, I have my team member here from the Philippines who will be joining us tonight, Jelly Cruz. Hello, Jelly. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Singapore is on our second phase already, and we can go out now. Yeah. We can go out as well to different countries. However, we have to pay $2,200 just to go out. Anyways,
wow.
It's not about that.
Yes.
So for tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to have our two esteemed guests from the Philippines, Federal Land, Mr. Tomas Mirasol. He's the president and the CEO. And of course, we will have Ms. Casares-Ko, Executive Vice President of Federal Land. So anyways, before that, I believe that you're going to discuss something with us, right, Jelly?
Yes. So tonight, we will talk about Japanese joint ventures in the Philippines. But before that, allow me to provide a brief introduction. Japan is among the top trading partners of the Philippines. In fact, it is the Philippines' second biggest trading partner with total trade at $20 billion. To date, Japanese investment is pegged at $1.24 billion and is on its way to producing 16,000 jobs in multiple industries such as manufacturing, agriculture, retail, real estate, automotive, and education sectors. Multiple Japanese firms continue to pledge to invest in the Philippines' real estate sector because of the country's proximity to Japan and the healthy business environment. The Philippines is continually improving in terms of transportation. The Metro Manila subway line that will be partially operational by 2022 and fully operational by 2025 will connect most of Manila. The 7 billion project will connect north of Metro Manila to Ortigas, Makati, Fort Bonifacio CBDs, and NAIA located in Pasay City. Aside from this, other projects are expected to be underway in the near future, some of which are the master plan to redevelop Subic Bay, construction of the new Bohol Airport and Sustainable Environment Protection Project, the rehabilitation of MRT-3 or Metro Rail Transit Line 3, and the North-South Commuter Railway Extension Project. Now that we've discussed the Japan projects in the Philippines, let's talk more about our guests tonight. GD Capital Holdings is a listed major Philippine conglomerate, which gave rise to other notable companies such as Metrobank, the third highest ranking bank in terms of total assets, as well as Toyota Motor Philippines Corporation. GD Capital Holdings is also part of the Forbes 200 Best Over a Billion list, wherein the top performing listed companies in the Asia Pacific region with revenues exceeding $1 billion are recognized. Its real estate arm, Federal Land, is among the top 5 real estate property developers in the Philippines. It was founded in 1972 as Federal Homes, Inc. and has continued to establish itself as a prime real estate developer for almost 5 decades now. It has one of the biggest land banks in Metro Manila, particularly in BGC and Pasay City. The internationally recognized success of Federal Land makes it one of the strongest partner companies out there. Federal Land's projects not only extend within Metro Manila, but to Cebu City as well. Federal Land has partnered with Japanese companies for some of its real estate projects through Mitsui & Co. and Orix Corporation. Recently, they have partnered with Nomura Real Estate Development and Isetan Mitsukoshi Holdings to build the 4-tower residential development, the Seasons Residences, and the Philippines' first Mitsukoshi to rise in Bonifacio Global City. The Seasons Residences features the Japanese elements and Filipino-style living. This balance is reflected in the building's architecture and design, as well as its amenities. Japanese technology and design principles were observed to convey the style, convenience, and eco-friendliness of Japanese living. It fuses Filipino hospitality with Japanese design efficiencies, allowing its future residents to experience an elevated lifestyle at the heart of Bonifacio Global City. It is also in close proximity to 4 major infrastructures that is currently being constructed. The BGC to NAIA Bus Rapid Transit will provide direct transportation from Bonifacio Global City to Ninoy Aquino International Airport. The BGC Ortigas Link Road reduces travel time to Ortigas, while the SkyTrain monorail will minimize travel time to Makati. Lastly, connecting the majority of Metro Manila will be the Metro Manila Subway Project. To expound on tonight's discussion, may we call on our featured guest, Mr. Tomas Mirasol, President and COO of Federal Land, joined with Executive Vice President, Ms. Casares-Ko.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
You know, it's live. Everything can happen, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
How are you? How are you? How's the Philippines?
Very well,
Fine.
thank you.
Yeah, we're
What's
fine.
happening? You've been out of the ECQ since June. Am I correct?
June 1. Yeah,
Okay,
June 1.
and
Yes.
everything is
Yeah.
back to normal.
Not
What's
yet.
normal?
It's starting, well, I mean, it's not normal the way it used to be. It's starting to feel normal, though. I mean, the biggest indicator to me, I don't know, Kathy, you might have a different opinion, but traffic,
Traffic,
in Metro Manila
yeah.
is back.
So
Yes.
that's an indication that it's back to normal.
Well, it's
Yes.
getting there. It's getting there.
How about,
No, but
yeah, sorry.
sorry, but like we still don't get a lot of people going to. I guess a lot of people are using the private transportation. That's why that's contributing to the traffic, because public transportation is not 100% yet.
Okay. How about the office? People coming into the office? Because in Singapore, we're not yet, well, we're not
Yeah.
encouraged to go to the office. Are you back to the office as well?
We're both in the office now. We're
We're
not
in the
out.
office.
Like, how many percent is allowed to go to the office now? 30%?
It's 50%.
50%.
50.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 50%. Oh, wow. That's kind of huge. Okay. It seems like, what about, can we enter the Philippines already? Not yet? Yes? I think we can, right?
Yes.
From
I
Japan.
think you can. Actually, even
From-
now, I mean, outbound travel is allowed for leisure purposes.
Yes.
Are we supposed to quarantine ourselves for 14 days?
Yes. So
That
when
I'm
you
not sure.
after no when you like to go to Singapore, when you reach Singapore, that's 14 days quarantine, and then whatever else the Singapore government would require, and then when you come back home, that's another 14 days unless you get the swab test. So that's a 5-day wait probably.
Wow. What about,
So it's
let's
like-
say, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
What about Japanese going to Singapore, going to Manila, or any foreigners or non-Filipino going to Manila? Can we enter already? Can we enter the country already?
I think they're allowing the Filipinos to come back home, but
Yeah.
not foreigners yet. And I don't think Japan is also allowing like people from Manila to visit yet.
Yeah, I'm not so sure because we're really looking forward to going back to the Philippines. My God, and that means we canceled several projects, several trips already.
Yes.
Anyways,
Oh.
okay, let's go to the meat of the project. So, Jelly, what's your first question for today from our people from Japan, who's so
Good
interested
evening,
to ask a
everyone.
question?
Hi,
Okay, sorry.
Jelly.
Hey, Jelly.
All right. So we gathered recently from other developers that we've interviewed that in the last 2 to 3 months, you have been occupied with admin work, marketing, and focused on design adaptable to both now and post-pandemic. So what about Federal Land? How has Federal Land been doing?
Well, I think like most other developers, the first order of business when the quarantines came in place was to figure out how are we going to take care of our customers and our employees during the quarantine. That sort of preoccupied most of our activities for the first couple of weeks. After that, it was a matter of finding out what we can do while people were not allowed to go back to the office. But since June came around, the restrictions on Philippine development have been lifted little by little, we are now at the point where we can resume construction activities. So we've been doing that, working with our partner contractors, again, with an emphasis on public health and safety, to make sure that we find our way back to near full construction operations as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Now, for the malls and the office buildings, I think Kathy can tell you a little bit more about that.
Okay, so we've started to open the malls. I guess most of really just the restaurants. Retail is a little bit timid in terms of like opening. Offices have continued, albeit at 50% capacity also. A lot of our office tenants have actually adopted the semi-work from home setup already. So that's continuing. But nothing beats like, you know, coming together, collaborating with colleagues in the office. So I guess we're seeing that in Federal Land, and we also get feedback from our tenants that they also, you know, set aside time for them to collaborate with each other face to face with the masks.
I have a question. How about your showrooms? Your sales activities right now is on is it on already? It's full blast. So what's happening when it comes to your sales? Like how's the market there right now when it comes to like local market? Because I heard from different other developers that, you know, mostly the local people, the Filipinos, are the one buying right now. So
yes.
I'm not so sure whether you also have some regulation with your showroom as well. Is that?
Well, there have been some restrictions on selling activities, which we're very happy to follow, which is why us, along with just about every other major developer, have shifted to digital showrooms.
Yes.
We do have ours up and running already, so it should give you know, a similar experience. At least people can see. You know, the layouts, they can see the sizes, they can appreciate the kinds of finishes that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, but our showrooms are open. So, and we do receive visitors, but I think what's different right now is that we encourage people to sign up so that the showroom does not get crowded. And then because there are still people who would actually like to see the model, to go inside the model unit. So, and we accommodate that. Yeah. And we've seen people actually come into the showrooms with their masks on.
Okay, that's it.
You know what's interesting?
Yes.
Sorry, Sheila. You know what's interesting? When people started working from home in the beginning, one of the worries or one of the questions, you know, that many companies had was, will working from home become a more mainstream kind of trend? And I think one of the worries from a corporate point of view was that would people be as productive as they were working from home as they were working in the office? Now, I think at the beginning, a lot of people thought, oh, this is great. You know, I don't have to come into the office. I don't have to take the stress, all that. You know, but as this thing kind of went on and on, what we're hearing from a lot of people is people actually prefer to come to the office. They want to come in because, you know, if you don't have that separation between the office and the home, essentially you're working 24 hours a day.
Okay. And the Meralco bills, I suppose, for the aircon.
Yes, of course. Yes.
And the Wi-Fi, I suppose, as well. I don't know. I'm not so sure. Okay, well, talking about showroom and sales, I think Jelly has some question regarding about the sellings and the sale price prices in Philippines right now. Would you like to ask that, Jelly, please?
So recently, the Japan Credit Rating Agency upgraded the Philippines credit rating from BBB+ to A-. But recently, Nikkei Asia reported that Chinese buyers are going back to the Philippines, and some projects are now selling at a 15% discount rate. What is your take on this?
In any kind of situation similar to this, there will always be some property owners who will be in distress. My take on this will be mostly secondary sales. So people who have bought properties before, they are now unloading it, right? Because maybe they need the cash. For just about every major developer, though, I think we've all learned lessons from what happened in 2008 and in 1997. Those memories are still fresh in our minds. I mean, Kathy and I and all of our contemporaries and the other major developers, we all sort of grew up in that kind of situation, and those lessons were never, were never forgotten. So it's very good to see that the major developers have been very very cautious about not overextending themselves. So because of that, I don't think you're going to see a lot of sort of distress sales from the major developers. We've all been through this before. We know that real estate is a cycle. The good thing, if there is a good thing about this particular situation, is that it's not a fundamental economic issue that's driving things. It's a health issue. And the fact that I think the Philippines has been able to address it fairly well will mean that the economy should get back on track fairly soon. So, and the idea there is to make sure that the health crisis never becomes an economic crisis. So to sort of summarize that, and Kathy might want to add on to that, while I think there will be some people, private individuals who will look at disposing of their assets, I don't think it's going to be a major trend. Kathy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we've seen that during the Lehman crisis, the Asian financial crisis. The more stable developers held on to their prices, to their assets, recognizing the value, the eventual value. And I think those who invested with us actually saw the appreciation of their investments as the years went by.
And to add up, probably, if I could just address Nikkei, if they're listening, I think they should look at the Philippine property index as well. So at least they could see the trend of how we did in over the last 3-4 years compared to the Asian crisis and also during 2012. So I think they have to redo that report. I beg to disagree on that one. Is that okay, Jelly? Are you satisfied with your answer?
Satisfied.
Okay, all right.
So as you have said before, Japanese investors keep on investing despite these trying times. As I have reported earlier, you have multiple partnerships with the Japanese. What's the history of your relationship with these Japanese partners?
Okay. I think one of our major partnerships, and it's the longest one that we've had, is with Toyota. I think we will celebrate our 32nd year with Toyota this year. So it's been that long. And I think that based on that relationship, we were able to attract other Japanese companies. They've seen how synergistic our relationship was with Toyota. It was founded on mutual respect and exchanging ideas and all. So after Toyota, we partnered with, we have Toyota Financial Services, Sumitomo for the motor finance, and then we started our first, I think, partnership with a Japanese real estate company, Mitsui, for one of our projects in the Bay Area. And then that was followed with a partnership with Oryx for now our second tower already. Second Midori Tower, but I think third project because the Grand Hyatt was also with Oryx. So, and if you look at the trend of these partnerships, they kind of just grow. I think we'd like to think we are very good partners. That's why our partners continue to want to do business with us.
Yes. So in line with that, Yes. Sorry.
So the most recent partnership actually is with two groups. So this is Nomura Real Estate and Mitsukoshi Setan. So these three companies, including Federal Land, are jointly developing a project in one of our flagship estates in BGC. So this is a Seasons Residence, so a 4-tower development. Again, this is proving to be a very good partnership because we're already starting to talk about a second and maybe a third project with these two groups already.
What are the common denominators between Federal Land and these partners that you have right now? So, why is it working? What are the values?
Yeah, I think we share a lot of common values and goals. If I understand correctly, like the Japanese value harmony, order, self-improvement, self-development, and that's something that we as a company, Federal Land, we also espouse. And we see this in dealing with our Japanese partners. Negotiations are always difficult, but both parties also will try really hard to make sure we come to terms at the end of the day and have a good, bottle of sake, share a good bottle of sake, a long day of negotiation.
Yes.
And then, so the discipline, I think we're very happy. We're very happy with the discipline and mutual respect. I think our Japanese partners see the value that we bring to the table. We also, our stability as a company, they could rely on us to carry their brands, to represent their brands well. In the same manner that we are very appreciative of the technology and the discipline that they bring to the table, that they actually teach us. So this last partnership with Nomura Real Estate in Mitsukoshi Setan is actually a very active partnership. We have multiple meetings every day, as in multiple, not just one meeting, but multiple meetings every day, covering all aspects of our project. So it's a learning experience for both sides, and we're very happy with that. And I think that's something that we want to continue to explore with for our other projects.
How long is it?
Can I just add to that? Sorry, Sheila. So I agree with everything that Kathy have said. Obviously, I just like to emphasize two things. So there's a lot of transparency whenever we deal with our partners, and that transparency results in a lot of trust. We share good news and bad news whenever it happens. We share challenges. We're very open to take advice and direction from our partners, and they are very open to take our advice as well. As Kathy has mentioned, it's a lot of work, and we do spend a lot of time talking with each other. But at the end of the day, we do end up with some very nice projects, and I think both sides are quite satisfied with the outcomes.
Yeah.
How long has been the partnership? Has it been decades, or is it? I understand it where the Toyota was the start.
Toyota
right,
is like 32 years already this year, and then so that's the oldest. Maybe Mitsui was like a little over 10 years ago. So I'm not sure about the others. The partnership with Nomura Real Estate and Isetan Mitsukoshi started maybe 5 years ago. 4 years ago. So
correct me if I'm wrong. I understand that the people behind GT, the company, is also lived in Japan and quite familiar with the Japanese culture. Is that correct?
Yes, our chairman, Alfred T, went to school in Japan. And then I think he interned after school with one of the Zaibatsus. So very familiar. He actually lived with a family, not his own, in Japan. So he was like free spirit. Don't quote me. He's free spirited Japan. I enjoyed it very much. He embraced the culture, and it's something that I guess he was able to relate with, and what he wants to bring to the Philippines as well.
Does he speak Japanese as well?
Choto. Just a little.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, I think it's enough that he got lots of projects with Japanese.
No, I think he can understand more than he can speak. So,
Okay, other than the good things of partnering with Japanese, I know you mentioned about the challenges. I don't know how to ask it, but okay. But any challenges that you are that you have experience working with Japanese, or for retail, any problems with the Japanese? What I'm trying to say is, like, can you compare Japanese as buyers of your project as well, if that's possible? If you could expound on that, if you have experience as well. So first is, like, any challenges on dealing with Japanese?
As partners or as customers?
As customers and partners, general lang. Only general.
Okay. Kathy?
Yeah.
Why don't you comment and I'll follow?
Just
Okay.
challenges.
Actually, of course, the language is a little barrier. So,
Yes.
but we kind of just try to understand each other.
Yes.
The Japanese, I think it's not so much a challenge, but a little more of a difference in, like, cultures, or a difference in how we're used to dealing with other partners. They're very persistent. They're very detail oriented.
Yes.
Everything has to be from A to Z. You cannot skip letter J. So we have, so we go through that process, and sometimes we have a tendency to just make shortcuts because we're so familiar with the process. But no, with them you have to A to Z, up to Z, no skipping.
Yes.
So that's a little tedious, but that also shows you the level of discipline that they bring
Yes.
to the table, and it makes you realize, if you do that, it takes a little bit more time, but you make sure that you don't miss out on anything. So
Yeah. If
yeah,
I may just share, because I've been dealing with Japanese over the last 4 years, I think it would help for you to draw it, because sometimes it's that language barrier.
Yeah.
You have to draw it, and
That's why I always have a pen.
always have a pen and a paper, because it's quite important. And then second is, with us, with us, with Japanese, with Japanese, I believe that they have one word. When they say something, they will do it. But when they also expect that, when you say something, they will, you will have to do it as well. And it's more of like, the word is more, what they tell you is like a contract already. But you cannot skip. You have to do it step by step.
Yeah.
So I think because you have plans of, we're doing your launch in Japan. So I think we have to do that with your sales team as well later on. You have to teach them about the culture as well.
Yeah.
So, Jelly,
Tom
would you like to
wanted
add on?
to-
Sorry,
Tom wanted to add something.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
I was just going to add. I mean, I wouldn't characterize it as a challenge, no.
Yes.
In as much as I think we and our partners, we do get along quite well, simply because we share the same vision. But in terms of making sure that things are clearly understood, we do dedicate a lot of time. I think, as Kathy has pointed out, in talking things through. Meetings will last for hours, and then after that meeting is done, right? And the meetings can involve, easily 20 to 25 people in one meeting. And then after the meeting is done, that group of 20, 25 people, they break up into smaller groups, and they review, what the big group spoke about, just to make sure that our understanding of what was discussed was clear, and their understanding of what we said is also clear. So it's an investment in time, and but the end result is that there's very clear understanding, and things move forward predictably.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I'm sure you will be. Some people might be asking, are you ready to meet any other Japanese partners? Okay, let's do that. You don't need to answer that question. Anyways, okay, Jelly.
Yes.
I'll leave
So
it to you.
seeing how these values closely align, the Japanese see Philippines as a future home. The reason why the Japanese keep entering the Philippines for investment and retirement is our values closely aligned. So along with this, may I ask, what are your future development plans that will answer these needs for the Japanese?
Well, okay. Let me start off, and then Kathy can put her thoughts on it. I don't think it's accurate to say that we develop projects specifically for one nationality or the other.
Yes.
We do take a lot of technical cues and design cues from our Japanese partners, and these are things which a Japanese consumer will find very familiar to them. When they go into one of our units. The kind of projects that we are working on, they are, they're not designed for any particular time, any particular sort of. There's no gimmick. Is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Quality is quality, and you'll see it in the design, you'll see it in the materials, you'll see it in the maintenance. And while architectural themes can change from time to time, I think the underlying desire to do something of quality and something that we as a developer will be proud of, 10, 20, 30 years after the project is done, that's always constant. Kathy, you might want to add something to that.
We don't design or we don't come out with projects for any particular nationality, but there are, I guess, themes, there are needs that's common that we address. And I think one of the needs is to be able to feel secure in your home. And that's a technology in our latest projects. It's the technology that we brought in, that we introduced. So Japan is so prone to earthquakes, so they must have the technology to address those, to be earthquake ready. So that piece of technology we brought to our project, we introduced to our project to make sure. So if the Japanese are interested, they come here, they know that it's the same technology applied to their buildings, no questions asked, they feel secure. Other improvements or other that we brought in would be like the relationship of spaces inside the living areas. So sometimes we're so used to with all due respect to the other projects, cookie cutter layouts. And but we'd like to think that we're not a cookie cutter developer. So we've actually introduced for each of our projects new elements to the layouts. Some elements were not very we were not very comfortable with at the start, but when we saw how it opened up spaces and people actually appreciated it, and we said, oh, this is something that we can replicate in other projects also. You asked about how, what can the Japanese find when they see some of our projects. We've heard actual feedback of Japanese nationals visiting our showrooms and our model units saying, oh, this feels like home. So I guess that is a testament to maybe we were doing things right. I think when we said we wanted to bring in for this particular project, the Seasons, when we said we wanted to bring a Japanese product, we stayed true to Japanese. It was not fusion Japanese. It was, staying true to the Japanese concept of living.
And if I may also
Right.
add, the Philippines love Japan so much. That's why
Oh
you
yeah,
probably brought Japan to the Philippines as well, isn't it?
correct.
I don't know. That's just an
Yes,
observation. So
No, 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 that's why.
very true.
We brought, aside from, of course, the features in the residential units, we brought in Mitsukoshi Setan, and that's the mall at the podium of the Seasons Residences. And our peg for that mall is that when you walk in, you will feel like you're in Japan. So
oh
it's like
wow.
everything will be set up that way.
Yeah, okay. What
Wow.
about Tom? Anything else in that in terms
No,
of
it's just I just wanted
branding?
to say, well, I mean, not so much on the Federal Land brand, but the Philippines in general. You know, the phenomenon of Japanese retirees or expatriates, coming to the Philippines and then deciding to stay permanently. It's not a new thing. It's something that we've seen, for many, many years. I mean, going
Yeah.
back as far as I know, all the way to the 1970s. The reason being is that it's a very nice lifestyle here, which you can have for comparatively less money than it would cost you, say, in almost anywhere in Japan. The Philippine countryside is beautiful. You can get pretty much anything from anywhere in the world if you stay in Metro Manila or the nearby suburbs. The
Cheap
the
golf.
culture.
Sorry.
Golf is cheap, yes.
Affordable.
Affordable,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
affordable golf.
yeah.
Yeah.
The nature of Filipinos, they're generally very warm, very welcoming of
Yes.
visitors, especially of visitors, I think. And it only takes a couple of visits before people realize that, wow, this can be a place that I can call home.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, I have some questions here, but I understand that you have already answered most of them. But somebody's asking about your. I know. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but one strategy right now is that you also, just to make sure you don't have any new launches for this year, correct? Other than.
Yeah, no major developers are planning any significant launches this year, and it's just a matter of that same thing that we mentioned earlier about being very prudent and managing risk.
Yeah. And well, but just another question is, do you mind sharing with us just a few things that you want to disclose? Any future projects that will be okay, other than other than what you have right now. Any other future projects in the in residential, in offices that any Japanese investor can enter into? Like
Well, as a policy, we don't tend to disclose, the
no,
lineup
no.
of
I mean, like
projects.
how big the future pipeline. Sorry, nagtatanong eh.
Okay, no, it's
It's okay.
it's big. Let me just put this in perspective.
Yeah.
Um, over the last couple of years, real estate has grown quite well, and I do believe that Federal Land has sort of outpaced most other developers in terms of growth of real estate sales. At the pace we are going, I know Jelly mentioned we're in the top 5. At the pace that we're going, we should be in the top 3 fairly soon. Assuming
Very
that
soon.
we can sustain our pace. However, in order to make sure that happens, we have to make sure that we have a pipeline of projects
Right.
in various stages of planning and development. So without releasing too much information, I can say that our vision is that of growth, and we
Right.
do have a significant land bank that will support that growth. And at the same time, we are always keeping our eyes open for other new opportunities that come our way. Kathy, you want to add anything to that?
Mm.
Can I just give like a little teaser? Parang that's not giving a lot. No,
Yeah.
can I just say that we're the areas where we will I guess be launching projects in the next couple of years would be in the Bay Area. I think that's safe to say. We have significant holdings there. We still have a couple of parcels in BGC that we can work on. We have in the pipeline a couple of projects in Cebu and then south of Metro Manila. I think that's safe, Tom.
Now, the reason why I asked that, just to give you an idea why I asked it, it's because for property access between Hiruk and I, we have been we got some queries on investing in commercial spaces. So office spaces right now is quite believe it or not, because we realized that I think the Filipinos would still want to go back to the office because of the Meralco bills and the Wi-Fi. So, and we see that, we look at it, we made our own study. We realized that it's a lot better for our, it could be competitive for our investors to look at office space as well, and some logistics as well for lease, because it's lesser maintenance, and then the lease will also be longer, and then there's an escalation as well. So if you intend to have office for sale or commercial for sale later on, that's just a feedback. That's why it was. I think that's the reason why they asked that.
I would agree. Yeah, no, I would agree with anyone who asked you that question. That does make a lot of sense. And when we are ready to talk to you about that, Kathy will let you know.
Don't let me talk. I talk more than you do.
Okay, Jelly, with anything else?
I think we're good with the questions. Any questions from our viewers?
I think I got feedback from here. Sorry, I control it.
All right.
So far, we already answered the questions. Anyway, thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much, Kathy, for your time. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed our discussion, our multilingual discussion. Thank you.
It was great fun.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So, thank you.
Bye.
I would like to thank our esteemed guests, Mr. Mirasol and Ms. Ko, for sharing their valuable insights with us tonight. I hope that our discussion has provided enlightenment to you, our viewers. See you next week in our next episode, happening on July 21st, 8 p.m. JST. We're here to talk about property investment in the Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Thailand. And that will be with Kazato-san this time, not with me anymore because I can't speak Japanese. Jelly?
Simply subscribe to our social media channels so you may be notified of future episodes. You may see the QR codes in the presentation flashed on your screen. And we will also be having the International Property and Investment Virtual Conference 2020 by the end of July. If you want to know more details about this, you may check our website, or you may simply scan the lower QR code here flashed on your screen. With that,
I'm your sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
With that, I would like to thank everybody watching. Sheila.
Thank you. I'm your host for tonight, my co-host, Jelly. Thank you for watching. I hope we gave you some valuable information. See you next week. Bye. Thank you. Bye.